innovation and change. It's very difficult to innovate and change fast if people don't trust each other.
The world is changing all the time.
True.
And Franklin Covey is absolutely relevant in a changing world.
Welcome to the first episode of the Inclusion Advantage, a product of FranklinCovey South Africa. My name is Sean Madliwa and I'm happy to be your host today. The purpose of this Inclusion Advantage podcast is to showcase FranklinCovey South Africa, the most trusted leadership company in the world. It's also an opportunity for South African leadership to experience the Franklin Covey partners, to understand why we are custodians of such a phenomenal brand, and also to learn some industry norms, industry trends, and to have transformational conversations around how to transform your business using Franklin Covey as a partner. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by two of my colleagues, Antoinette and Busi. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Sean.
In a minute, I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. And today, I really want to have a conversation around why you've chosen to partner with Franklin Covey and what impact you're looking to make in the South African landscape. So let's start off with you, Antoinette. Tell us a bit about yourself and how you've come to be here today.
Thank you very much, Sean. So when I started my career, I didn't really have this is where I want to go with my career. It was work, I got a pay and I spend it. That was how I started. And until I saw leaders growing and leaders doing things, and my mind changed a little bit. My first studies that I did was in accounting. I don't fit the accounting mold at all. And then I moved into sales, where I needed to have a little bit more of a personality. And it was a stretch for me at that time.
I can imagine.
But it was a good stretch because it made me think more. I'm a very process-orientated person. So I like step A to happen, then step B to happen, then step C to happen. I love managing change, but I don't want to go through the change always. So you can imagine the journey. And then I got to a role where they called it sales development. It's enabling today,
Nice.
Where I was really immersed into processes and building capabilities, and not only people capabilities, but system capabilities as well. I loved it. And it was exponential growth. That's the first time that I actually met Franklin Covey. I went on 7 Habits, and I can promise you, I went on many training courses. And in the classroom, you made all the promises of what you're going to do when you get back to the office.
That's right.
And 7 Habits was one of the things that I really implemented. And I kind of forgot about them till a few years ago, and when I started the journey here. So yes, my career sales, and then I went into leadership and process development, and then I ended up in HR, looking after people. So for me, the bigger connection was business results into people results, and how do you marry the two? So it was an amazing journey for me to just bring empathy back into business results. So my growth was exponential. Every role that I've covered many roles in my life, but every role that I covered was an exponential learning curve for me. Today, I run my own business, and it's about leadership and engagement and culture, because I think all of that goes together. A business with a purpose, and purpose in both people and business results, and a growth mindset to me is important. So, and that is the leadership growth part. So that's what I run today. I believe that there is a certain shift in leadership mindset that needs to happen. Okay. And it's not because just the environment and the work environment has changed. I think COVID has shifted something in the expectation of employees in a business today. They expect a little bit more.
That's true.
We've been talking about work-life balance for years, but I think work-life balance is real to people today.
Yeah.
They want to live, they want to have a life, but they also want to work and enjoy it. So marrying all that together, for me, is very important, and that's where I found myself today. That's what I do, that's what I love to do,
Lovely.
and that's the impact that I want to make in the world.
Beautiful, Antoinette. In fact, there's an evolution around work-life balance where we're now calling it work-life integration.
Yeah.
Because we work from home so frequently, 3-4 days a week we're at home, so it's evolved from work-life balance to work-life integration. How do we integrate effectively both our work and our life, in one space? So I love that. I take out one key point that you've mentioned around results, being results-driven, and how that ties back into our ethos as Franklin Covey. We are a results-driven business. We want to deliver results for both people and for business. And I love that, your background in HR and in system development and building processes to drive results ties well into the Franklin Covey ethos of being a results-driven organization. So I love that.
Absolutely, yes. I think that's why I love this marriage.
Over to you, Busi. Tell us about yourself.
Yes, so my name is Busisiwe Hlatshwayo. I'm a leadership coach, consultant, and founder of Black Women in the Workplace, a company that is aimed at solving the problem of the lack of representation of Black women in leadership. And the reason why I chose Black women is because I am. And also, there's a quote that says that because the Black women are the most marginalized, they're the lowest in the rung. If you solve issues around inclusion of them, you actually solve issues for everyone. So for me, that really makes sense to focus on that as a business. In terms of where I come from and also why this, which will explain why this would make sense for me, is that I came from previously disadvantaged, and my gift was reading. I loved reading as a child. And I started reading just, I would read my sister's books, short stories and novels. And as I grew, became a very strong Christian. I would just read the Bible and Christian books. And I remember when I started my career in training in one of the big 4 companies, and I was struggling. And I spoke to this lady, and this lady said, don't just read Christian books, read other books. And then I started, reading in the development space. And oh my God, it changed my life. I remember reading a book, I forgot what the name of the book is, but one of the things that it said was that how to double your income in 90 days. And I read that book, implemented the principles, read other books as well. And in 90 days, I was in another company, earning double that. Yeah.
Nice.
And then my career just kept on increasing. I kept on advancing almost every 2 years from that point, And one of the books I read was, the 7 principles of effective people. And interestingly enough, as I change and I grow, I've changed, I've grown, and as I've changed and I've grown, the principles still work,
Absolutely.
They're still very impactful and work. If you think about it, in the space that I'm in, I always say that the work is to increase the representation of Black women. And also, it's not just about, do us a favor. It's about how do we develop these women so that they're ready leaders who can impact, who can create results. And then we say to companies, how do you create spaces that are safe, that have trust, so that we create an environment where there's both win-win, because companies win when people are effective and are working. So my work was also on that, on how do we develop these women that they can meet the call, and also how can we ensure that companies and leadership are living the principles that would allow all of us to have a safe space in companies. And things like trust, that is one of the core principles that Covey, teaches, is actually one of the things that continues to make sense and continues to be impactful and continues to create the answers to the challenges that we're facing as a country,
Absolutely.
needing to ensure that everybody develops, that everybody wins. So this really makes sense for me. Yeah.
I love that. No, beautiful journey for both of you. And I mean, Busi, I take so many great nuggets out of that. You spoke about inclusion, being driven and led to drive, the inclusion of Black women in business and in leadership. And that's part of the culture of Franklin Covey, right? To build a culture of innovation, a culture of trust, a culture of inclusion, and a culture where we win and we enable greatness.
Yeah.
So I really resonate with your stories because they tie into the ethos of who FranklinCovey South Africa is.
Yes.
So beautiful stories and beautiful journey that you've both have traveled thus far. But I want to sort of double click on why. Why Franklin Covey as a brand and as a company? What made you choose Franklin Covey to be the vehicle of choice to deliver the mandate that you carry in your business and in your hearts?
So, I mean, they're worldwide. They're in 160 countries, and that's all the right answers. But really, to me, it's because they align with my purpose and my passion. I said to you just now that I love process, and their programs and everything they do has got a solid foundation. I want to impart lessons I've learned during my journey, and I want to impact people's lives. 7 Habits does that. I've been through it, and it did change my life in a big way. I am passionate about diversity, and Franklin Covey speaks about that inclusion, and I love culture. I believe culture is the start and the end of any business. So in between the growth comes, in between results come, but culture is definitely the start and end. And I think really the spirit of trust is something that encompasses that, because without trust, you cannot build a culture,
right.
You cannot build a purpose in the business. So that's the one reason. The others is their track record. I've worked hard in my life. Like you said, the journey was interesting. You work hard for a reputation, and I want to connect with someone that's got a track record, that's got that reputation.
The credibility.
And I believe that's exactly credibility.
Yeah.
I believe that connection is there between me and Franklin Covey as well.
Lovely.
And then I think the last one is it's not just learning. I said when I set my journey, you go to a training course, you're going to change the world after you finish, then you go back to work and stuff happens.
Yeah.
But I think the way that Franklin Covey does it, the foundation and the framework that they implement, it goes beyond learning. It is results at a scalable level, and that I really love, because I don't want to come in, do a course and go out and we've earned the money, and that's not one of their principles. So I love the principles. I connect with the principles that they've got, and I think it really connects with my purpose and what I want to do in life.
I love that, and for many reasons, Antoinette. I think for us as Franklin Covey South Africa, I think definitely we are a principle-driven organization, and to hear you speak of your principles and how well they tie into and align with ours is really beautiful. And I want to draw into 2 of them that you've mentioned, and really it's about making an impact. And you said that all our courses are application-driven; they are results-orientated, and that's exactly it. The difference we make to organizations is that we don't just change behavior, but we transform the individual and ultimately transform the organization by bringing in the culture of trust, a culture of innovation, a culture of inclusion, and being results driven. So I really resonate with that, because that's one of the ethos of Franklin Covey South Africa. And secondly, for me, I also congratulate you on really mirroring your journey with that of Franklin Covey. So Franklin Covey South Africa has been long known to make a difference and to make an impact, and we look forward to having you as part of that team, making that impact in your client space and in the industries that you work with. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Adding to something you just said, very results driven. And what I like about that, the results they drive is growth in people and growing the business.
That's right.
So it's not just one way. Many businesses today, or leaders, are so orientated in growing the business, and we forget that the business is growing because the people are doing the job.
That's right.
And one of the principles are growth, the mindset of growth. But the growth mindset means holistically growing, not only the business, but the people and the organization and the culture. So,
Lovely.
yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here and part of this.
Busi, your side?
My side, a few reasons. I think one, the vision is one. As a solopreneur, my focus is really how to ensure that everybody wins. How to ensure that the individual workers win, the individual employees win, and companies win. And that's what Franklin Covey is about. They enable greatness in individuals and people. And I always say that my superpower is to help people to get to the next level,
That's right.
of success. So the vision was one, and that really made sense. And the other thing that I've spoken about again is principle anchored. So for me, the collaboration, inclusion, belonging in this country is very dear to my heart, is very close to my heart. And I've realized that a lot of these challenges that we're having around lack of trust with each other in companies is really because we have not sustained or developed principle-led leadership. And not just from leaders,
That's a
but
powerful
from
insight.
people, yes, but from people as well, from the people that work. And what I like is that Franklin Covey has programs from the least until from the worker, even the cleaner,
Junior
the
employees,
most
yes.
junior
All the way
employee to the
to
leader,
executives.
all the way, so that you are able to create programs that change the culture. One of the examples I was looking at was where a company had, the 7 habits, for an example, for all employees, and when they were hit with the disaster, the factory flooded, the whole place flooded, and it was so easy to make the change. It was so easy to move. It was so easy to make the change because the language was one, and everybody
Principles
was
are
so.
one.
People
right.
had the principles of what do I control? What is the win-win? What needs to be done? How do I lead myself? I mean, if you look at the speed of trust, it talks about trust with yourself.
That's
How
right.
do you start with
Personal
trusting
leadership.
with yourself? And then how do you trust with leading others? And how do you trust as companies in terms of leading in the market and in society? So those principles work in any environment.
That's right.
And some of these challenges we wouldn't be having if people led principle-led lives. So, and if people understood and got committed to these principles, you can use any challenge that we have. If we have principles, for example, of trust, other issues are innovation and change. It's very difficult to innovate and change fast if people don't trust each other. Because if you can't innovate in an environment of where failure is not allowed. But if you say we trust one another, I trust that when you make this decision, you've thought about it. When you look at the principle of, let's seek to understand before you understood. We wouldn't having these challenges of biases if we understood one another. So that was very important to me. The third one is collaboration. Franklin Covey is a big giant. It's very big. And we are solopreneurs, And one of the challenges that we have, in getting into space, access to market is trust. Is the fact that people think, oh, you're small, you don't have the capacity,
That's right.
to manage all of this. How can we trust that if we bring you in, you'll be able to do what you need to do? But as well, we are smaller, we are agile, we're easy to change with the environment. And the fact that we're even being visible enough for Franklin Covey to partner with us shows that we're people who are effective at what we do.
That's right.
And we're led, and there's no one's driven as an entrepreneur, you know? So it's a collaboration that makes sense. Where we take the agility and the work and the credibility that we've created and this
Amplify that.
world-class, yes, and this world-class content and principles that Covey has created it's a marriage that makes sense. And the last thing is the fact that, you know, Franklin Covey is world class. One of the challenges that you have when you're training in companies, because I also run women in leadership development for companies programs, is that availability of people. COVID-19 has also created that thing of sometimes people want to be at home. So having these, different ways of implementing programs that Franklin Covey brings is very impactful. It helps because one of the challenges is that people are available. They need to, work. But if you're able to have different ways of implementing your programs, that's very important. The last one is the fact that when Franklin Covey sees a program that is out there that will be helpful, they find a way to collaborate. And for me, one of the important ones is unconscious bias, because I think if all understood unconscious bias, because it's not just about certain things, it's all around. We all have our biases, and that is one of the first ways to change. So looking at this, so for me it was very important to partner with a company that understands issues around inclusion, diversity, and unconscious bias, and to see that was part of the programs of Franklin Covey. That was important to me. So yeah.
Lovely, Busi. In fact, you've just responded to the question that I was going to ask you to ask whether does Franklin Covey tick the boxes of women inclusion that is the fire that burns in your business, right? The fire that drives your business. And I'm happy that you confirmed that, the programs such as unconscious bias and the innovation and inclusion programs that we have speak specifically and directly to those issues around women being included in leadership spaces and in the workplace. So I'm really pleased that Franklin Covey is able to tick all those boxes and beyond. And the culture of continuous improvement is a Franklin Covey ethos. We continuously looking for innovative ways. Busi, you've mentioned our delivery models. So we've got both online e-learning delivery models as well as virtual instructor-led models and face-to-face, depending on what the client wants. And that flexibility is what really makes us, one of the most trusted organizations and leadership companies to work with. And Busi, you mentioned the trust deficit, which I think Antoinette, you also alluded to. Yeah. We are in a state, not just in South Africa, but I think even globally, where there is a trust deficit, in the world. And Franklin Covey's got some great programs that are geared to lead us back into a relationship of trust. So programs such as Leadership at the Speed of Trust is one such example, where we enable organizations to build trust from the ground up and also from the top down, to enable organizations and employees to thrive and to build a culture that they desire. And I dare challenge that, we should take these programs even to some of our government divisions and foster some trust within government as well. And definitely try and achieve the results that we want to achieve at that level as well. But that's a journey that we'll take on another day.
So there's a tagline for them.
Yes.
Dare to lead, guys.
Dare to lead.
Call us if you dare to lead.
That's right. Right? Dare to lead. I love that. As we head for a close, Busi, maybe I'll start off with you. I love your journey. I love the fire that drives your organization. I love the passion with which you speak around women inclusion in the workplace, women inclusion in boardrooms. I know we still have a long way to go. If you look at the numbers, I know that one company who does that research annually has published that we're still way behind the numbers that we want to have in terms of women executives, women CEOs, and women in the boardroom. And I know that you've highlighted how clearly you're going to use Franklin Covey as a brand, but also our trusted leadership products to enable that growth in the marketplace. Is there a message out there that you want to share, possibly with our audience as well as the leaders online? But linking it specifically to this podcast, we are the inclusion advantage. Yeah. What is the inclusive advantage you want to share with leaders and women out there? An impact that you're going to make going forward with the Franklin Covey South African team?
Oh my word, how much time do you have? Because I can speak the whole day. But For me, it's also not just about women inclusion and not just about Black women inclusion, but ensuring that everyone
Nice.
feels included. Obviously you have to have a focus, and for me, women and Black women was very easy, but it's people who are not heterosexual, the members of the LGBTQ community, people who are living with disabilities, people who are neurodivergent. We need to ensure that everybody feels welcome in the workplace and they feel seen and understood. One of the things that I teach the ladies I help is around how do you navigate the workplace as it is. But if leaders were following principles, we wouldn't have to say that. We wouldn't have to teach that. They would know that they are seen and they are known for who they are. They're included. And these are the principles that Franklin Covey has around how to teach people to trust. I'm just going back to that example of that company that was flooded. One of them, it was in Asia. I think it was in Thailand. There was a flooding. People's houses were flooded, and the company as well was flooded. And they had estimated that it would take 1 billion rand to recover, and it would take 6 months. And because the employees felt such part of the company, they even slept there to help the company move things, and they were able to be back on working in 8 weeks, and they even made a profit in that year.
Wow. When
a lot of the companies failed. And another company was talking about, I think it was Frito, which was talking about where, they started having a shortage in potatoes. It's a Fritos, it's a chips company. And they were starting having, challenges with cost of doing business, and things had to change. And they're saying the change was so fast because there was trust. Because when there's no trust, then bureaucracy becomes the thing, because we always have to go back and check, should I do this? Should I not do this? But when you have created trust with your people and with your leaders, so that they don't always have to come back and ask, should we move? Should we carve now? So for me, that will create the fundamental change in companies that will make that will not just change this country but create results. Because when people trust and when people are engaged, when people are seen, they produce the best results.
They feel empowered, right?
They feel empowered. Yeah. And the old regime of how can we get more from resources for less, the country, especially through COVID, the world has realized that cannot work anymore. Yeah. We have to create relationships of trust. We have to be focusing on win-win so that we're able to make a change. So for me, that really resonates in the fact that it fulfills people's needs to advance and be effective. So your people's needs, that's which it creates attraction, retention, and engagement. Because you don't just want people who are staying Correct. Who are not engaged. But for business is not in business just to be a great corporate citizen. Business wants to create value for its shareholders. But how do you marry these two so that we both win? Business gets results and people also feel engaged, feel seen, and feel like this is an environment that feels psychologically safe and that I can thrive and be the best version of myself. So
Beautiful.
For me, that makes sense.
I love it. So in summary, was you saying that for businesses and leaders to grow and to have win-win opportunities, they need to enable trust.
Yeah.
Because trust enables greatness.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I really lean into that idea because trust is a great enabler of empowerment, personal development. So I really like that vision that you have, and we fully support that vision.
And just to add, and not to take all the time. But also, it's the world's most trusted leadership development company. And I love that they have so many programs. One of the programs is the Franklin Covey All Access Pass, which has so many programs, and that allows businesses to be able to take what they need from wherever. And also, I like that they can customize, the courses to align with what they want to achieve. So whether it's their values and all of that.
Yeah.
And I just want to add.
Yeah.
Sorry not to take all my time. It's not the time I'm worried about, it's my point.
Just to add, Sean, one of the very important, I think, capabilities that Franklin Covey Programs has is the vast array of programs that are available for companies to take and customize. Because sometimes companies say we want to create a common language throughout the organization so that we speak the same language. It's not like if you think about it in a marriage, and one of the partners has learned something, and they come with this new thing, and it's like, well, what are you all about?
Who are you now?
What is this? But if you have a common language that you're able to use to create change in an organization, that helps. So I love that there are these array of programs that companies would have so that they're able to customize this to change their cultures and to make it make sense for them as a company. Yeah.
Lovely. I love that. Over to you, Antoinette. We are the inclusive advantage. What advantage do you want to share with our leaders and followers on our podcast in relation to your journey and the partnership with Franklin Covey?
So there's many things that Busi said that I agree with. I love the part that Franklin Covey always says, that we want to make sure that you are a better version of yourself, or the best version of yourself.
That's right.
And that is build on trust. The most trusted company in the world for leadership training. We cannot impart leadership or change minds in a business without building that trust first. When I started, I said I wanted to connect with them because of their foundational principles. And the principles and the habits are those ones. And not only is the habits in the 7 habits training, but it's also included in the trust training. There's 13 habits or behaviors that's imparted into that. And to me, that's very impactful. But the bigger impact is that the world is changing all the time.
True.
And Franklin Covey is absolutely relevant in a changing world. The fact that they don't say we've arrived and we know it all, they have a behavior of inclusivity.
Correct.
When there's something great out there and there's something good, they go partner. They do acquisitions all the time. Their research department is absolutely big. And they make sure that they research all the time to be the best in the world.
That's right.
And that's what I love. That's really the advantage of this inclusivity. It's not only us partnering together, but they have a behavior of partnering with the greatest.
Nice.
So they impart greatness. And that's the part that I love. Their training's timeless. If you've done 7 habits, 1920,
still relevant.
And you do it today, it's still relevant in a world
Absolutely.
of changing. As she said, you can adapt it in the current situation for the current group of leadership. And that's really the impact of this inclusivity. It's they understand the businesses they work with, they understand the world and the world that's changing, they understand the environment they work in, or we work in. And that's definitely the impact. So the impact's timeless. It gives us the ability. I always say we all have to be bold and brave. But because they add the part of the best version of yourself, they also allow you to be you.
Beautiful.
And that's what I love. And the impact of inclusivity is you're allowed to be you, and you can lead from the front, you can lead from the middle, you can lead from behind. With these programs, just take that step in doing it, connect, and be bold. be bold and reach out to say this is what we want as well. We want our organization. I love the stories that Busi was telling of organizations where the tacky hits the tar and they just all got together, and because they have behaviors and the same language, they pulled through. I mean, I worked in an organization through COVID, and it was not at all digital, like nothing was digital in the business. And they went digital in 4 days.
Wow.
Just because of the culture and the inclusivity. They gave people voices to say, how can we do it? How do we do this? How do we take you home? Have you got space at home to do this? So it's absolutely important. I love diversity and inclusion, and ideas come out of inclusivity. And we are an example of that. Our research shows us what's great.
That's right.
We acquire greatness because we want to impart greatness.
Love that. Such a beautiful time to be at, where we are in a country that is going through such beautiful changes. You both are talking about change being the real constant. We're talking about a trust deficit, both in the workplace and I dare say a trust deficit in the country as well, right? I think the election results showcased that. And I do believe that, you know, this proposed government of national unity has got some potential, but I do think that in order for the idea of a government of national unity to thrive and to succeed, there is a level and a layer of trust that is required.
Absolutely.
And I think that's required from us as South African citizens, right? We don't know what's coming. We don't know what it's going to look like. So we don't trust that it would work. And I think that internally, you know, our government as well needs to develop that trust amongst themselves as political parties in order to bring to life the vision of the government of national unity. And I use the segue to really highlight the importance of trust, because you both have been talking about that so eloquently throughout this podcast. And Franklin Covey has got a beautiful program underpinned by, you know, the 13 principles of trust. And it's something that I really look forward to us using as a tool, both in the workplace and possibly even to influence our national leadership, to foster trust, you know, with the employees in the workplace, to build that culture of innovation, to develop that culture of inclusivity. And I look forward to the work we're going to do and the results we're going to deliver for both our clients and our people. Closing words from you. We'll see one-liner. What your closing sentiments, your thoughts?
Asking me to do a one-liner is a difficult one. But just to add on the challenges that we're facing as a country is that the biggest thing is trust. Because the question is always, what happens when you don't agree as a government of national unity with different ideologies? What is the decision that's going to be taken, and for whose benefit is that going to be? That is a fundamental issue of trust. And it's also a fundamental issue of, do our leaders lead from principle-led integrity? You know, and that is basically the problem. And Franklin Covey has recognized that if you help people create trust with themselves, because that's what we're always talking about. Our leaders trustworthy with themselves and also trustworthy as they lead. That is so key. So I believe, and I call upon companies who are ready to really create change. And I think the biggest thing is, how fast can you change when you have trust? And also, how do you create a culture of not just inclusiveness, but effectiveness, results? Because that's what companies are all about.
Right.
We're not here to, you know, those other things are nice, but we want to create results.
And make an impact.
Effectiveness of each and every individual and not just leaders. Try us and see what we can do for you. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. It wasn't a one-liner, though.
It could never be.
Antoinette, your closing statements and maybe just a poke at this government of national unity and what it would take to bring that to life.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, I'm going to call on companies and I'm calling on the government. If you are looking to create greatness, a collective behavior within the company or in our organizations or in our government today or in our country, then and you're looking to achieve the results in a sustainable way, then please call on Franklin Covey. We are here to help you because we create greatness.
Beautiful. You couldn't have ended that well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful chatting to both of you ladies. I look forward to the journey that we're going to take together in transforming and making an impact in South Africa and to our clients. I'm very excited with the journey ahead of us. I'm excited for our country as well.
Yeah.
I think we are at a time when there's a bit of uncertainty, but with uncertainty comes opportunity.
Exactly.
Right? Opportunity to change,
True.
opportunity to grow.
Yes.
And I'm really excited that we, the catalyst and the enablers of that growth with our partnership with Franklin Covey South Africa. So I really want to thank all our viewers on the podcast. This was the first episode of the Inclusive Advantage powered by Franklin Covey South Africa. My name is Sean Madliwa, and I'll catch you next time.